It's a very lovely morning right here at KCC, the very last day of ACOA 2025. And I call it last day because the sessions end today, really. With me is a very magnificent gentleman. I actually want to let him introduce himself, but one thing I can say is he is in the space that I absolutely love so much: AI, cyber security, and things of the sort. Actually, maybe I should point out the fact that you have worked with, or are you a regulator of blockchain?
Yeah, so I work with a blockchain. I'm one of the founders of the Blockchain Association in Uganda. And so that is an organization that brings blockchain companies together.
What is blockchain? I was just looking at it and wondering, what exactly does it do?
So blockchain is part of what they call the emerging technologies, of which there is AI and 5G and what they call them emerging technologies. Part of what is generally known as the fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
And it's a new way in which data is stored and transmitted. It is very disruptive, but I'm sure you're familiar with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
It is the technology that powers those technologies. So the thing behind Bitcoin that allows Bitcoin to transfer value in a decentralized way, that is blockchain.
Oh, wow.
And so it was invented about in 2008, 2009, and its first product was Bitcoin. Just as one of the first products of the internet was email. And so it has been running since, despite its shaky beginnings, scams and speculation. It has now gotten center stage. It's recognized, it's legal in most parts of the world. Countries are participating in blockchain. Central governments are looking into blockchain to build digital currencies. So it's now becoming mainstream, and it's a buzzword. It has stopped being a buzzword, actually. It's now actually technology that's being used.
Yeah. So let me quickly ask, who is Noah Baalessanvu? Baalessanvu? Did I mention it?
Baalessanvu.
Baalessanvu.
Yeah, I'm a tech enthusiast. I've loved tech for a while, since childhood. But more professionally, I trained as an engineer, a telecommunication engineer in Makerere University in Kampala. Then in 2004, one of the things I did in university was to do forensics, digital forensics. Basically, it's a science of trying to find out facts from a crime scene. And we're doing that digitally. And so it's one of the first in the region. And so when we did our final thesis on that and presented our paper, and my business partner at the time figured that this is a service that we could offer. But at the time, it was unknown. Digital forensics was a very virgin concept. Yeah. So we started a consulting firm in 2004, which was the first in the region on digital forensics. And so that's what got me into cybersecurity. And I've been doing that since. So doing investigations, presenting evidence in court. And then more recently, we got involved with the emerging technologies I told you about. And I founded an organization called Savannah Group, which is a collection of companies that are invested in emerging technologies. So AI, Internet of Things, and blockchain, and the likes, and crypto. So that's me in a nutshell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've led cutting-edge initiatives in blockchain, cybersecurity, and digital assets across Africa.
Yeah.
Can you start by kind of like telling us about your journey, what motivates your work, okay? And perhaps some of that, your interaction with the governance and, that tech space and all?
Yeah. So the motivation behind tech is just largely curiosity when I was younger, and then just the ability of tech to be able to solve problems, which is sort of like our human relationship with technology. We build tech, we build systems to make work easier, right from the invention of the wheel. I mean, moving things around by carrying them or on horseback had its limits, so we invented the wheel to make life easier. We invented fire to make digestion easier, because digesting raw meat can have its consequences. So invented fire to cook food, the wheel to move things around, the train to move cargo and people around, aeroplanes. So you find that it's making life easier. So that has been a bit at the core part of my curiosity with technology.
And I'm curious too, does that mean you were exposed to tech when you were young? How did it even come up?
Yeah, you could put it that way. And when they buy you toys, you open them up and expose the technology in them. So I used to do that a lot and it used to annoy my parents. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to get access to computers early. I went to a school where there was computer studies. I learned how to use a computer pretty early. And it fascinated me. And so when we went to university, it's one of the areas we said, what was the next frontier? Yes, you can use email. Yes, you can build websites. But now, at the time, more and more value was going online.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and where there's value, there are people who are trying to get that value, illicitly. And so criminals were moving online as well. And so I figured we needed skill sets that were able to get us to be able to apprehend these criminals when they're online. And so that led us to digital forensics and the greater science of cybersecurity. How do you not only get the perpetrators, but how do you secure systems as more and more value goes online? So that was the initial push. Then from there, you then discover that when you go down that rabbit hole, there are now breaking technologies like blockchain, crypto, AI. AI is not necessarily breaking. AI has been there since the 40s, the 1940s. Alan Turing, who was a scientist in Britain, who was using encryption to send messages for the military. But he's the first person to theorize artificial intelligence, and he said that one day we'll be able to create machines that can think for themselves. And so from his early writings all the way down to what we have now as ChatGPT and its other products, it has matured. We are just seeing the maturity of AI, but it has been there for a long time. Google had put AI in Google search, and we've been using it for a long time. But now AI has sort of got a voice. You can now discuss and have conversations with the machine rather than being given instructions at the back end. So it has moved to the front. So that is what we are seeing in the last 3-4 years. And so yes, these emerging technologies became interesting. And so we started building our businesses around them, starting by actually getting people to understand the value of these technologies, because Africa, if I backtrack a bit, many of these technologies come in waves, which are called industrial revolutions. And so the most recent being, so you had the first industrial revolution where they invented the steam engine. The steam engine is the basic form of what the petrol engine is right now. It's early beginnings. Then the next industrial revolution was electricity. And that, lit up the world, literally. And then now we had the third, which many are familiar with. This is the internet. So when the internet came, it changed the way we think about media. It changed the way we think about information sharing. But notice how Africa was left behind in all of these. By the time we catch up, we are just users. But the fourth industrial revolution came where everyone was on the starting line, both the developed and the developing countries.
Yes.
And so that's an opportunity for us to catch up as Africa. And so I saw that opportunity, and we figured that we might as well rally many people to say, look, this is an opportunity for us to start creating value rather than just using value. Yeah.
So basically, from your vantage point, how is AI currently transforming the accounting profession, specifically, since that's why we are here for?
Yes.
Particularly in terms of automation, perhaps decision making, and maybe risk management, which is something you talked a little bit about when we were off the mics, about the fact that where the money is, the hackers, we're going to be there.
Yeah. And so when we boil down what AI basically is, and maybe I can just break down what we think is AI. So what these chatbots are, they're just chatbots. They are the user interface to a more complex, reasoning engine, which we call large language models, or LLM. I'm sure you'll see LLM all over the internet when you talk about AI. But the chatting part is just so that you can speak English. But ideally, they don't speak English. So what that means is that you can now instruct a complex reasoning engine to do things for you. You don't need to be a programmer to do that. So what would take programmers months to do, you can now do it with one prompt. It's like chatting. So now imagine that potential in the accounting industry. And these engines are very quick, and then they learn. So you imagine you can give them a spreadsheet. It can show you patterns. It can show you trends. So that's going to disrupt the accounting profession quite significantly. Now think of an audited books of accounts, something that would take an audit firm weeks to put together, collecting data from bank statements, receipts, and all that. Once all these are digitized, one prompt can create for you your books of accounts. Just one prompt, and it will go pick the data from wherever it is and give you an opinion. So that automation is going to disrupt the accounting industry if it hasn't already. The most popular tools used by accountants are already incorporating AI. So now it's already increasing the speed. So far in the last maybe 2 years, the reporting on accounting has been reduced. The time has been reduced by up to 30% just by the integration of AI. So that automation is a big game changer in the accounting industry. Another area in which AI is disrupting the accounting industry is in decision making. Notice that one of the key outputs of an auditor is an opinion. Now, an opinion can be given with higher accuracy and faster results, more factual results by an AI. And so just that is going to change the way things work. But then instead of looking at it as something that's taking away a role, another way of thinking of AI is a very super-powered companion. Think of a super-powered companion, a workmate who you ask any question and they can give you answers. So that now elevates your time to be thinking more higher level reasoning and leaving the mundane repetitive work to AI. So it's now what we call decision support. You want to make a decision, but you need certain facts brought to your attention. So rather than, scouring through reports or emails, you can simply ask, and then you get a reasoned answer, you get comparisons, and that aids your decision making, which is a critical thing for CFOs who are leading large organizations. Multiple facets of the organization, multiple moving parts. You need to make a decision, but you need to make it quickly. And so AI becomes a decision-making powerhouse. Then the third thing is in risk management, as you mentioned. As technology becomes more complex, so does the data. And so does the risk.
Exactly.
We have our data all over the place. Think about you right now. Maybe about 20 years ago, computers were not personal. We call them PCs, personal computers, but they were not personal. They were on a desk, hence the name desktop, or on your laps, hence the name laptops. But they were with you for a few hours in the day, and then you continued with your life. But now you have a smartphone, you have a smartwatch. Some people have smart glasses. They are now part of you. They're part of your attire. You can't leave home without your phone. So it knows your steps, it knows your location, it knows your heartbeat, it knows your temperature. So you have a digital twin who is exactly like you. Now you're moving around collecting data. The average person collects about 3 to 5 GB worth of data a day. And so this data is going somewhere. And that presents risks because you don't know you're generating that data.
That gives me the creeps.
You see, so someone or something is collecting this data. And if I have that data, I can impersonate you. And and we are quick to go to the negative repercussions, but then let me start with the positive. Think about people with sensitive diseases or people with terminal diseases. The fact that you have a machine that's collecting this data can notice symptoms early.
True.
The latest iPhones and Apple Watches are able to sense your pulse.
True.
And so if there's a irregularity with your heartbeat, it's able to diagnose automatically with relative accuracy up to 30 minutes before a heart attack. So think about the prevention. When some of the applications, depending on your age and the settings, when you fall suddenly, the phone calls SOS. It calls your SOS contacts. Why? Because it assumes you have fallen down and there's an emergency.
need
So
help.
there are all these technologies that, again, we build them for our comfort, but they come with risks.
Yeah.
And so the risk profile has changed significantly. And so for accountants that have people that coming into an organization with personal devices, interacting with corporate data, so that line becomes blurred, and with that blurred line comes risks that are exposed.
In fact,
yeah,
that is actually where I even want to kind of like come up with my next question, which is almost the last one. The thing is, there are risks, like
Yes.
you were saying, when it comes to the AI, as it's coming along. What could you perhaps, or maybe unintended consequences is how you've been putting it. So maybe you could point out some of those, especially in terms of the ethics,
Yes.
oversight, or cybersecurity.
Yes. So with AI, of course, the biggest risk with AI is bias. Now, bias, what is bias? So for you to have AI, it needs to be trained. It needs to be trained with data. But then the quality of the training data is not, because the people who are pushing AI are companies, private organizations, which are largely motivated by profit. And so they're not necessarily looking for the best
Interesting, yeah.
unbiased data. Some of them could be, I'm just speculating. But think about the risk is that if the data is biased, the AI will be biased.
Will be biased too.
You understand? So the AI bias is a real risk. And it's dependent almost largely from where it is developed. So for example, if majority of the AI technology is developed in the West, it will be Western biased. And so when you try and apply it in Africa, there's going to be some mismatches here and there.
Very true.
And so we need to be aware of those risks. Then of course there is the risk of what they call hallucination. Because you start using AI, it is so fascinating at first, then it becomes so useful. Because the more we learn to use it, the biggest mistake people make is they use AI like a search. That's that's misusing AI. Just use Google search if you want to search.
Oh.
But AI has far more complex capabilities than just searching the internet. Yes, it can do it, but it's like using your phone just for its calculator.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there are many more things it can do. But then, the more people discover what it can do, the more they rely on it. Now, the problem of relying on AI is that you don't know when it's telling the truth or not. Remember, it is only as accurate as the training
As
data.
the training agent.
So if the training data is false, because we have all these fake news and whatever the internet has to Google up, we train the AI on that, and so it can give you a very strange answer. And because you're relying on everything it spits out, you just
go with
believe
it.
it without having it fact checked. So now they're trying to solve that, the companies, because they know now it's a big risk, but it is still a risk. AI is hallucinating. And then finally, the thing that you've mentioned is cybersecurity risk.
Yeah.
Imagine what would happen, which happens, if a hacker used AI for the wrong reasons. A hacker used AI and the speed that AI can do to break passwords, to break into secure places, which is what they're doing. One of the biggest ways in which hackers gain access is what they call phishing emails. A stray email that comes to you unsolicited. It looks so nice, you're tempted to click on that link, but you see a spelling mistake here, you don't really know a Nigerian prince, then you figure that that's probably a hack. But now with AI, those hacks are becoming more and more sophisticated.
Difficult to
So
not
a
to
hacker who's
recognize.
targeting you will go to your social profiles. They will ingest all your Facebook accounts, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and then create a persona. Remember, you're leaving a lot of data online. Accurate data because it is self-posted.
Yes.
So now I can send you an email that is so targeted because I know your likes and dislikes. I know you went to a certain restaurant and didn't like the food. Or I knew you went to a certain place and you liked the ambience. You said you liked the specific flower. You took a picture of it, posted it online, and said, oh, I love this flower. So now I send you an email that has those things that are personal to you, and so you believe it. Why? It has been collected by AI. And so you click the link, and I've entered your systems.
That's so risky.
Yes, so the hackers are using these things also nefariously. And so we must be aware of these risks. But of course, so are the cybersecurity people. We're also aware that these are the risks, and we are using the same tools to try and apprehend them. Yeah.
So, what specific innovations or maybe use cases, are you seeing in African context where AI is being applied to the accounting or financial reporting in meaningful ways. Perhaps, yeah, well, let's be specific with the accounting. I was
Yes, with the
about to make it
accounting.
broader, but yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, in the accounting profession, it's ripe for use of AI. It's because they analyze a lot of financial data that can significantly cut down their times. I already mentioned that those most popular tools like QuickBooks are already integrating
sure.
AI. And so that's already cutting down significant time from tedious processes. So that's practically happened. But some of the things that I found that are happening already on the continent is the South African Revenue Service, SARS, is already using AI as interface to customers.
Oh.
And so you have an AI assistant that's able to help you on your tax questions, on your, and so that's already being piloted and it's working in South Africa. In Nigeria, they're already training, the Nigerian accounting profession is already training young accountants on AI and how they can use it to cut down their time. In Kenya, they have courses, and some of those CPD points are attained when you start training AI and starting to use AI. So being integrated, I personally have been involved with a number of accounting professional bodies in integrating AI and cybersecurity into their CPD curriculum.
Wow.
And so you find that there's already positive movement. It's no longer things that we talk about at conferences like this.
Yes.
There's practical steps that are happening to integrate them into the profession itself, so that you find that we're setting the stage for the next accountants to come, the next auditors to come, to be able to now start not being left behind, but start actually using these tools. So we're starting to see them in small ways, but of course the bigger scale applications are yet to come.
And hence the conference theme, creating value for Africa. In short, look at all those gaps and the opportunities. The last question I'm going to ask, and thank you so much for your time, really.
Sure.
I'm very, very appreciative.
Sorry.
As AI reshapes the profession, how should accountants, and finance leaders adopt in terms of skill, mindset, or even structures so that, they evolve with what's going on and also stay both resilient and relevant, given that we are a global village right now?
Yes, and that's the answer is in the question, skilling. The people who are not skilled will be replaced. And so the classic question I get asked, will AI replace me, accountant, lawyer? And I said, no, AI will not replace you. A person using AI will.
That's a good one.
Yes.
I was actually asking it yesterday. I love the answer.
Yeah, so a person using AI will.
Wow.
And that's inevitable. So be the person that uses AI.
Wow.
Remember, AI is like a superpower. You learn how to use a superpower. Now, many people watch hero movies, Avengers, whatever, and there are all these superheroes with superpowers. So now we have a distributed superpower that we all can use. You can have a lawyer as a superpower. You can have an accountant as a superpower. How do you use it relevantly in your profession? I know people who use AI to schedule their social media engagement. And so it helps them curate the content, post the content, collect feedback, respond to initial engagement with the fans. And so it's like a superpower. The better you learn how to use it, the more impact it gives you. 80 times the impact and efficiency you have now. So skilling is very important. But then, like you mentioned earlier, the governance question needs to be addressed.
Yes, so
and
true.
it can't be addressed outside the building or outside it has to be the profession itself that looks at how AI is being applied and start putting those governance safeguards within the use of the technology in the industry. It can't be an outside-in thing. It's the people among while they're using it. So even the regulators need not be left behind. And then, of course, culture. You see, we're having a conversation before this interview, and we're talking about the culture of privacy, for example.
Yes.
We are using all the definitions of privacy and applying them to a world now where technology is pervasive.
True.
And so we need to understand that our culture has changed. These tools change us. And that has been the story of industrial revolutions over time. Every industrial revolution changes us as well. We invented, before the car or before, the wheel, we used to walk long distances.
Yes.
But then when we invented them, somehow we don't now walk.
And we can't.
We can't walk. Okay. When we invented, one of the things that I found very fascinating is that 24-hour businesses were facilitated by the invention of the light bulb. Because there was a time where you could not have light at night.
Because it's dark.
Because it's dark. What are you doing when it's dark? But now when there's light and artificial daylight, you can continue working. So 24-hour supermarkets, imagine. So that culture of working was changed because of the innovation of the light bulb. And so social media has changed our culture. Right now, you used to take, I'm old enough to remember, we used to take pictures, put them in an album, put them somewhere at home, wait for guests to come, and you show them the family pictures. Now the first instinct is swipe, post on Instagram. That's a culture change. But with all this comes the risks, and we also have to understand that, yes, these technologies are now affecting us, and we must be cognizant of that, and it's not always a good thing.
Wow, I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
For this insightful conversation. And my point here is this kind of talk, these conversations going on, they awaken the intentional being in you. He mentioned something about not allowing these changes to happen because they are happening, but outside. I will posit to you that by outside, I will involve the part of Africa at this level. Africans, we have our own culture to maintain. We have our own norms. We do things a certain way, and that's who we are. We pride ourselves in that. So being intentional about exposing yourself to these kinds of conversations gives you an advantage, and also gives you that curiosity to see how can I participate, thereby making sure my voice is heard, my culture is represented, but I am not left behind. I am actually moving with the trends, with the changes and the influence and impact of AI. For Royal FM, I'm Joy Love, right here at the ACOA 2025.